Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. Another sign that Xi Jinping and the CCP could be actively preparing for war. On April 28th, the Political Bureau of the CCP held a meeting to analyze and study the current economic situation and tasks related to the economy. A special term and a special concept, 平急两用, was mentioned for the first time at this level of the CCP's meetings, and this has drawn quite some attention. 平急两用 can be translated as dual use for peace and emergency, or dual use in normal and emergency situations. According to the CCP's official explanation, dual use in normal and emergency situations means facilities used for tourism, health preservation, etc. during normal times should be immediately converted into quarantine and treatment facilities in the event of major public emergencies. Before this, on April 23rd, the CCP's National Development and Reform Commission, in conjunction with 7 departments, including the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, the National Health Commission, and the China Development Bank, held a meeting on the construction of dual use for peace and emergency facilities, which mentioned that the dual use for peace and emergency concept should be integrated into the overall urban planning, and a batch of dual use for peace and emergency homestays and hotels should be constructed and renovated. A batch of large-scale Fangchang hospitals or makeshift hospitals should be reserved, and a batch of emergency medical service points should be upgraded. Before that, on April 18th, the National Development and Reform Commission specifically held a research and on-site meeting on the construction of dual-use for peace and emergency facilities in Pinggu District in Beijing. In addition to the above 7 departments, 21 super large and mega cities and their provinces, such as Guangzhou, Chengdu, and Xi'an, sent officials to participate in the meeting. Deputy Mayor of Beijing, Gao Peng, stated that promoting the construction of dual use for peace and emergency facilities is an important way to build a city's security line. We must explore the establishment of a sound system for dual use for peace and emergency that serves social and economic development, responds to public safety emergencies and natural disasters, continuously improves risk response capabilities, safeguards the new development pattern with a new security pattern, and contributes to the establishment of a sound system for dual use for peace and emergency for the country. To serve the overall development of the capital, Pinggu District should explore the construction of a dual use for peace and emergency development pilot zone and strengthen its protection function in emergencies while developing characteristic industries during peacetime. This will help to explore emergency protection for super large cities, improve public safety capabilities, and so on. To be frank, this kind of CCP-style official language only makes people confused. However, if you know the CCP's language well, you will find that the so-called dual use for peace and emergency is that the CCP is converting public facilities built in peacetime into facilities that can be used in emergency situations such as public health emergencies or war. An anonymous author in China published an article saying that although we cannot overinterpret it interpreted. Considering our country's policy of active defense in national defense and the increasingly worsening international situations, this is a continuation of the policy proposed by the Central Committee of the Party at the State Council for the Development of National Defense System, military-civilian integration, peace-war integration, military as the mainstay and civilians supporting the military. The article specifically mentioned that the Ukraine war in the past year has made us realize a fact. After civilian houses are bombed, a large number of civilians become displaced, and this is an urgent problem that people must face. During wartime, hotels can be used as militarized strategic assets and can also be used as negotiation venues, reporting bases, and refugee shelters, which can play a positive role. The article also mentioned that dual use for peace and emergency can maximize the benefits of infrastructure. For example, a war emergency hospital built in conjunction with Mengcao Hepatobiliary Hospital of Fujian Medical University in Changshan District, Fuzhou City, was completed on February 24th and passed the civilian defense acceptance. This hospital has become an example of the implementation of the peace or dual use concept and is worthy of compilation for how to effectively carry out the construction of public infrastructure in accordance with the requirements of dual use for peace and emergency. I searched on Baidu and found this news story, and there was also a picture that looked like an underground facility. The preview shows that the following text, dated on February 26, 2023. Quote, a war emergency hospital built in conjunction with Mengcao Hepatobiliary Hospital of Fujian Medical University in Changshan District, Fuzhou City was completed. The staff of Fuzhou Civil Defense Office carefully guided the construction process from the start to the final inspection and provided supervision and service, unquote. It can be seen that this report is listed under the Civil Defense News column of the Fuzhou Municipal Government website. However, when I tried to click on the article, a 403 forbidden message appeared, indicating that this report is restricted and only accessible to specific groups of people. However, there are many pictures of this hospital available online, such as this. See, quite a large-scale hospital. Another anonymous article from mainland China used the following title, Strange, Politburo really proposed the dual use for peace and emergency public infrastructure construction. What does it mean? The article stated in a very subtle way that based on official reports, dual use for peace and emergency public infrastructure construction basically refers to emergency medical services. But what is the problem here? The current pandemic has already passed, and there is basically no expectation of a second outbreak. Moreover, we have announced that we have achieved a decisive victory in epidemic prevention and control. Therefore, it feels quite strange to propose dual use for peace and emergency public infrastructure construction at such an important meeting. Now, think about another news item. The policy of turning the forest into farmland is being carried out across China to ensure food security. Hopefully, we are not overthinking this. For me, the author of this article is saying that this is preparing for war in a very subtle way. The author is in China, he or she has to be subtle. Now, let's take a look at this map. The city in the red circle is Fuzhou, which is one of the closest cities on the mainland to Taiwan. It only takes about an hour and a half by plane from Taipei to Fuzhou. So, in Fuzhou City, a war emergency hospital, a very large and good one, has already been finished and passed the civil defense acceptance. About a year ago, I released a top secret audio recording of the war mobilization meeting of PLA and Guangdong province, in which the term normal time to war transition was mentioned. The concept of military civilian integration, peaceful integration, has been around since the Mao Zedong era, with the slogan "Be prepared for war and famine." However, the smooth transition between peace and emergency was mentioned for the first time in the meeting of the Central Political Bureau of the CCP on April 28th. From various sides of at present, on the one hand, before the Political Bureau meeting, 7 departments jointly held a meeting and asked 21 megacities to participate, indicating that the CCP is actively promoting this system on a large scale. On the other hand, from the reports, it is still relatively low-key, with only brief mentions and no intensive publicity. Therefore, based on information from various sources, the CCP is actively and even urgently preparing for war under the situation of severe deterioration of international relations and intensifying US-China confrontation. The CCP's newly deployed agricultural police officers and the turning forests into farmland policy, which I have been reporting on recently, are also related to this. In some places, farmers' fruits, vegetables, and even wheat that will soon be ripe were urgently removed to plant rice. This indicates that the CCP is actively preparing for decoupling from the US and even for comprehensive sanctions. The promotion of smooth transition between peace and emergency in major cities is also aimed at enabling various infrastructures in big cities to respond to emergencies during wartime or large-scale epidemics. This all-round large-scale preparation for war has never been seen since the Mao Zedong era, when China fell out with the Soviet Union. Regardless of how the outside world views Xi Jinping, his established preparation for war seems to be rapidly advancing on a large scale with great urgency. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and double check if you are still subscribed if you are already a subscriber. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and share my videos with your friends and families. Thank you. See you next time.